In this presentation, we are going to discuss some population genetics problems based on Hardy-Weinberg principle. Hardy-Weinberg principle is a hypothetical condition or model which states that the genetic equilibrium, that is allele and genotype frequencies in a population, will not change from generation to generation in the absence of other evolutionary forces. These are the conditions that are required to maintain Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. The conditions can be listed as these. The size of the breeding population must be very large. Mating must be totally random. There must be no mutations, no migrations, that is no gene flow, no natural selections. All these 5 conditions must be kept in nature strictly in order for Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium to happen. In real life, the conditions will not occur. Suppose there are only 2 alleles for a single trait in a population. For easy understanding, I am using the letters capital A for the dominant allele and small a for recessive allele. There are 2 equations in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, and they are equations dealing with allelic frequency and equation dealing with genotype frequency. First one is equation dealing with allele frequency. The equation is P plus Q is equal to 1, where P is the frequency of dominant allele in a population and Q is the frequency of recessive allele in the population. This is the second equation which is dealing with genotype frequency, not allelic frequency. This is genotype frequency. The equation is P square plus 2PQ plus Q square is equal to 1, where P square is the frequency of homozygous dominant genotype in a population and 2PQ is the frequency of heterozygous genotype in a population and Q square is the frequency of homozygous recessive genotype in a population. These are all about the background informations. Let's start the problem discussions. Before starting to answer the questions, few instructions for the examination. At the beginning of the answer, you should write the Hardy-Weinberg equations, first and second equations, and what each letter denotes, that is P, Q, P square, 2PQ and Q square, etc. I am repeating. At the beginning of the answer, you should write the Hardy-Weinberg equations, first and second equation, and what each letter denotes. Then only you start to solve the question, and never ever jump into the numericals and calculations in shortcut way. You may or may not know the shortcuts to solve the problem, but examination demands the step-by-step way of answering because the equation has a particular weightage in mark distribution. And the first question is, the frequency of 2 alleles in a gene pool is 0.19, that is capital A, means dominant allele is 0.19 and 0.81 is the frequency of recessive allele small a. Assume that the population is in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium and calculate. The question has 2 parts. The first part is calculate the percentage of heterozygous individuals in the population, and the second part is calculate the percentage of homozygous recessive in the population. Let's start with the equation. First, start with the equation, and this is applicable for all the 5 problems we are going to discuss now, but it will not repeat again and again in every problems, but you should follow the same. And how now we start. According to Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, equation, P plus Q is equal to 1, where P is the frequency of dominant allele in a population, Q is the frequency of recessive allele in the population. And another equation is, we know that P square plus 2PQ plus Q square is equal to 1, where P square is the frequency of homozygous dominant genotype in a population, 2PQ is the frequency of heterozygous genotype in a population, and Q square is the frequency of homozygous recessive genotype in a population. Let's start with question A. Frequency of dominant allele, that is P, and frequency of recessive allele Q is given in the question. P equal to 0.19, Q is equal to 0.81. According to the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium equation, heterozygotes are represented by the term 2PQ. Therefore, the number of heterozygous individuals, that is capital A small a, is equal to 2PQ, which equals 2 into 0.19 into 0.81 equal to 0.3078. Actually 0.3078 is the frequency of the heterozygotes, not the percentage. So to get the percentage from the frequency value, we have to multiply the frequency value with 100. So the percentage of heterozygotes equal to 0.3078 into 100, that is 30.78%. So the answer is 30.78%. Can be said at 31% also. Part B of the question is, the homozygous recessive individuals, that is small a, are represented by the term Q square in the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium equation. Therefore, Q square is equal to 0.81 square equal to 0.66, and 0.66 is again the frequency. So we have to multiply with 100 to get the percentage. So the percentage of the homozygous recessive is 66%. That's all about the. While answering the question in exam, remember to start with equations as discussed in the previous question, then only jump into the answering. Problem number 2 is, in a population that is in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, the frequency of the recessive homozygote genotype of a certain trait is 0.09, and calculate the percentage of individuals homozygous for the dominant allele. The question says the frequency of the recessive homozygous genotype of a certain trait is 0.09, and The question asks to find out the percentage of individuals homozygous for the dominant allele, that is p square percentage. So q is the square root of q square, so equal to square root of 0.09, that is 0.30. Now we know the value of q, and we also know that p plus q is equal to 1. Thus p equal to 1 minus q, so 1 minus 0.30 equal to 0.70. Now we can answer what is p square, that is frequency of homozygous dominant allele. We know the value of p as 0.70. P square is 0.70 square is equal to 0.49. In the equation, it is asking for percentage. 0.49 is the frequency, of homozygous dominant individuals, but it is asking for percentage, so the frequency must be multiplied with 100 to get the percentage value. So the answer will be 49%. So problem number 2 is finished. Then problem number 3. In a population that is in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, 38% of the individuals are recessive homozygotes for a certain trait. In a population of 14,500, calculate the percentage of homozygous dominant individuals and heterozygous individuals. In this question, it is given that percentage of individuals with homozygous recessive genotype is 38%. So q square is equal to q square percentage. Q square percentage is equal to 38%. So q square is equal to q square, that is frequency of recessive genotype, is 38 by 100, that is 0.38. Then q is equal to square root of 0.38, that is 0.616. So frequency of recessive allele, that is q, is equal to 0.616. Now we have the value of q, that is frequency of recessive allele. We can calculate p from this. We know that p plus q is equal to 1. So thus p is equal to 1 minus q, equal to 1 minus 0.616 equal to 0.384. So frequency of dominant allele, that is p, equal to 0.384 and q is equal to the frequency of recessive allele is equal to 0.616. The frequency of homozygous dominant individuals are represented by p square. Homozygous dominant individuals. The first part of the question is asking for homozygous dominant individuals percentage. So frequency of homozygous dominant individuals is genotype is p square. We know the p, now 0.384 square is the p square value, equal to 0.49. 147. The first part of this question asks the percentage of homozygous individuals, not the frequency. Here it is frequency. It is asking for percentage. So the frequency must be multiplied with 100. So we will get 14.7% as the answer of the first part of the question, that is homozygous dominant individuals percentage. The second part of the question asks the percentage of heterozygote individuals, that is 2pq percentage. It is asking for 2pq percentage. That means 2pq into 100 equal to 2 into 0.384 into 0.616 into 100 equal to 47.3088%. So 14.7% is the homozygous dominant individuals percentage and 47.3088 is the heterozygous individuals percentage and 38% are recessive homozygotes. And that is the end of third question. Then fourth question. In a population that is in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, 38% of the individuals are recessive homozygotes. The same question, third questions and fourth questions are same except in this region. For a certain rate, in a population of 14,500, calculate the number of individuals of homozygous dominant individuals and heterozygous individuals. Here asking for number of individuals. The previous question is asking for percentage of homozygous and heterozygous individuals. Here asking for number of individuals, the population. That is the only difference between the third and fourth question. So the approach must also be different. Here a new scenario comes. The question is same as previous one. Exception is that here it is asking for the number of individuals, not the percentage. How to calculate number of individuals of a particular genotype? How to calculate number of individuals of a particular genotype? That is, genotype can be either homozygous dominant, homozygous recessive, heterozygous. If we have two values available from the question, one is the frequency value of particular genotype in the population, one is frequency value of particular genotype, and the second value, we should have the second value, the total number of individuals in a population. So the number of individuals in a population with a particular genotype equal to number of individuals in a population with a particular genotype equal to frequency of the genotype into total number of individuals in the population. Frequency of genotype into total number of individuals in the population. It will get cleared when discussing the question. In the question, it is given that homozygous recessive percentage is 38%. So Q square is equal to 38%. We know the Q as 0.616, already discussed as part of the last question, and P equal to 0.384. The frequency of homozygous dominant individuals are represented by P square equal to 0.384 square equal to 0.147. The first part of the question asks number of individuals of homozygous dominant individuals, that is frequency equals frequency of homozygous dominant individuals into frequency of homozygous dominant individuals into total number of in a population. So 0.147 into 14,500 is the total number of individuals in the population, equals 2132. So 2132, 2132 individuals are homozygous dominant. The second part of the question asks number of heterozygous individuals. So number of heterozygous individuals equals frequency of hetero into total number, so equals 2pq into total number of individuals, that is n, equals 2 into 0.616 into 0.384 into 14,500 is equal to 6859. 6,859 individuals are heterozygous individuals. Fourth problem is finished, and fifth problem. A rare disease which is due to the recessive allele A, small a, that is lethal when homozygous, occurs within a specific population at a frequency of 1 in a million. How many individuals in a town with a population of 14,000 can be expected to carry this allele? And always start with equations as mentioned in previous questions, and homozygous recessive percentage is given, which is equal to Q square. The frequency of recessive genotype, that is Q square, is 1 in a million, 1 out of million, 10 lakh, equal to 0.12345. So Q square is 0.000001, and therefore Q is equal to square root of Q square is equal to square root of 0.00001 equal to 0.001. So Q is equal to 0.001. We know P plus Q is equal to 1 from this equation. Using this equation, we can calculate P as 1 minus 0.01 equal to 0.001. 0.999. So frequency of P, that is capital A, dominant allele is 0.999 and recessive allele, that is small a, is 0.01. Since homozygous recessive is lethal, so small a is absent in the population, will not be present in the population, but carriers will be present, that is capital A, small a will be present in the population. The question asks for the number of individuals who carry small a allele, means number of heterozygotes or carrier individuals in the population. The question is asking about number of carriers. Only carriers can carry the small a allele, because small a is lethal in the population, so it will not be present in the population. So only capital A, small a is present in the population. Which means 2PQ into total individuals, total number of population, individuals in the population. So 2 into 0.999 into 0.001 into 14,000, population of 14,000, so is 27.97%. Can round off into 28%, no problem. And this final question: in the United States, approximately one child in 10,000 is born with PKU, a syndrome that affects individuals homozygous for recessive allele. And 3 questions are there. Calculate the frequency of this allele in the population, and calculate the frequency of normal allele. This allele means small a, normal allele means capital A. Calculate the percentage of carriers of the trait within the population. Start with the equation first, then the question. First part of the question asking the frequency of small a allele in the population, that is Q value, value of Q. Q value is asking. Homozygous recessive data is given, means small a genotype, which is equal to Q square. Q square is 1 out of 10,000, means Q square is 0.0001. Thus Q is equal to square root of Q square is equal to square root of 0.01 equal to 0.01. The frequency of recessive allele, that is Q, recessive allele Q is 0.01. The first part of the question is completed, and second part of the question asking to find out the frequency of normal allele, that is P, equal to 1 minus Q, means 1 minus 0.01 equal to 0.99. So it is easy to calculate P value from the value of Q. Third part of the question asks to calculate percentage of carriers of the trait within the population. means percentage of carriers equal to 2pq percentage equal to 2pq into 100 equal to 2 into 0.01 into 0.99 into 100 equal to 1.98 percentage. So totally 6 problems have completed, and here is the summary of the class. Equation for allele frequency is p plus q is equal to 1, and equation for genotype frequency is p square plus 2pq plus q square is equal to 1, and equation for genotype percentage, not frequency, it's percentage, is p square into 100 for homozygous dominant genotype percentage of homozygous dominant genotype. And if the question asks about percentage of heterozygous genotype, then the equation is 2pq into 100, and when the question asking about the percentage of, to calculate the percentage of homozygous recessive genotype, then q square into 100 is the equation. And equation for the number of, to find out the number of individuals in a population of particular genotype. How to calculate? Number of individuals in a population with a genotype equals frequency of the genotype asked, whether it is homozygous, recessive, homozygous, dominant, homozygous, recessive, heterozygous, its frequency into total number of individuals in the population. So hope it is clear to everyone, and thank you.